I'm by Castle on the Nottingham Canal, and today I've come to follow the Robinette's arm, once a crucial feeder of the Nottingham Canal. This was built in 1796, that's when it was opened from. And the Robinette's arm came off at a tight bend to serve many collieries, and later would become a very important water feeder for this very canal. Beyond that is then the Strelley Wagonway or Tramroad. That is very old and is classed as one of the early ancestors of today's modern railway. And it was the northern terminus of the Woollerton Wagonway, a few miles beyond the Nottingham Canal. Going to follow that in another video, but today it's the Robinette's arm and also the Strelley Tramroad. A look at this historical map, I can show you the Robinette's arm. You've got that horseshoe shape or that hairpin turn of the Nottingham Canal coming from Castle and Alresford up here and off towards Bramcote and Nottingham down here. And notice the junction of the Robinette's arm looks very, very short, doesn't it? Zooming in somewhat, you can see the junction is quite wide, isn't it? You've got a swing bridge in the old map just here. That is now a regular culverted road bridge. There is an overflow to look for, and it does get rather overgrown later on as we get to the very end of the Robinette's arm. And what is interesting and very rare on these videos when I do them is that looking at today's current Google image, nothing has really changed, has it? The trees are the same, the canal alignments are the same. It also looks like another river or canal, doesn't it, going from the centre to bottom right, but that is in fact a footpath. So we've got the Nottingham Canal continuing off towards Trowell, Bramcote, Woollerton and of course Nottingham. Behind me, that curves around and heads off towards Alresford and Langley Mill. Covered this in a recent video. Now it's this bit that we're looking at down here. Still very much in water. There probably is a flow of water still coming along here, as there are a lot of brooks and streams further up. And the first notable thing that we would have come across was a swing bridge down there. Castle Road on the right, going back towards what is the A609 today. It changes name to Dead Lane. That goes around, it's like a hairpin and drops down towards Castle. It's not a swing bridge anymore, but we can still see it as it is today. Concrete double culverted underneath the road now. The water is very much still here. Now I can cross the road safely, and I believe the path does continue on. We can get around here, yes indeed we can. Around to the other side. And again, of course, it's going to be double culverted, but also it's still in water. So it certainly looks maintained down there, doesn't it? I can hear water. I believe the overflow, which is the original one from the Robinette's arm, is in full flow. You can just see the water now, look. So this is clearly letting us know that there's been a lot of rain recently, but I think we're aware of that. Plenty of water in this Robinette's arm and going into the Nottingham Canal, too much, and this is clearly doing its job, look. Of course, not the original stonework, it is a concrete and metal slip plate flooring just there. But the canal itself does carry on just a short while longer. Now I'm standing here a few weeks later because I just wanted to show you what this overflow actually looks like when there isn't a torrent of water going down it. So quite a drop down, look, I'd say around about half a foot maybe, but then nothing. Just here, look, I can actually stand in it. I'm not going to stand there though, because I'll be on my backside pretty fast. There's where the water comes through, look. And remarkably down there, the overflow seems to contain piles and piles of random rubble that's just dropped down there over the years. It's almost as if that concrete slope with all the stones in it probably does carry on. And this maybe has been put down there to calm the flow so as not to damage actual brook that it flows into, so maybe all that stonework is supposed to be there. And that brook flows just down there. I'm actually intrigued to know where it goes to. And popping down to the brook or the ditch, it just seems to disappear there, look. Quite a mystery, that. Because it is at a substantially lower level than the canal. So does it run alongside it somewhere, go into a sewer, or even potentially go below the canal and pop out down the hillside where the Erewash Canal is? So I can in fact solve the mystery of the overflow's destination. Where it says Robinette's Arm, if you look where the A and the R is in Arm, you can see the blue line coming away from the Robinette's Arm, heading left towards the orange road and the curve of the Nottingham Canal. Just here, look, it disappears. That's what we've just been looking at. But it pops out on the other side of the canal and runs through fields below a footpath. Zooming out, you can see the canal on the right, you can see the footpath going across just here, and this blue line going all the way down here, look, and it does in fact join on to the river Erewash. Nice little bend in the canal just here. It must be about 45 degrees. Yeah, so that's where the overflow is, just below that large tree overhanging there. But I think we'll get this for maybe about another 100 metres or so. It looks like we're coming to the end of the canal now. It's narrowing off. It may go a little bit further. Some kind of box on the side there. You can clearly make out a flow in the water there, can't you? That's very, very fast. Now, I thought I was going to lose the canal just then, but there's a bit of a makeshift path going on here. So I'm going to make an attempt to follow that. It wasn't fenced off, and you know, there was a couple of benches back there, so it's not like it's private, but this is looking a little bit sketchy. Now, what's also worth mentioning is that just beyond the end of the Robinette's Arm, at a later date, National Coal Board did in fact operate an open cast mine up there. I believe that was going until around about 1986, and you could see it from the M1 motorway. That's Brickyard Plantation at the end. May have already mentioned that. Inside there, I believe there are some remains of those coal workings. Let's jump to maps and I'll show you exactly what I'm on about. So looking above Brickyard Plantation, look, I'm going to zoom down as far as I can, and within the trees you can in fact see some buildings. Look at this. There are some remains in there, but I can't see any publicly accessible land or paths or roads to get there, apart from some farm access. That is coming down off the lane at the top. Could be a bit of a dodgy place to walk around should you get the opportunity anyway, so you don't know what shafts are all around, and if it's not been used for a long time, could be some hidden obstacles that you don't want to meet. And interestingly, look, the drone picked up one of these very National Coal Board buildings on the bottom right hand side of this photograph. I knew they were here, I just cannot get to them, so if anybody knows how you can get to them, I'd love to have a bit of a mooch around. That is as far as I'm going to get. It's completely waterlogged. There's absolutely no access down there. Whether you could do it at any point, I don't think you can. It looks too wild. So I'm going to have to pick up a footpath from where Castle Lane and Dead Lane are, take me around the top, and it should bring me out somewhere just beyond where the canal is and intercept the route of our tram road. I'm now walking alongside the Nottingham Canal. That's over there, that line of trees, and I'm following this public footpath, and it would take me to Oldmoor Woods. That's where a lot of the feeder streams came from, and it was surrounded by so much mining activity, it was unreal. Now, I mentioned the Strelley Tramroad or wagonway around about 1604 that was constructed, and it is seen as the precursor to all railways, potentially the oldest track bed in the world, predating all the others. Not really anything to see of that now, if anything at all, but you can trace the route. I'd like to do that very, very soon. But up this way, we've got the Strelley wagonway or tram road. You can kind of follow that route and walk some of its track bed. We're going to try and intercept it after we find the point around the woods where the wharf was that intercepted the Robinette's Arm and the northern terminal of both the Woollerton Wagonway and the Strelley Wagonway Tramroad. Okay, just there, that line of trees, you see there's a bit of a gap. That is pretty much where I got to on the Robinette's arm of the canal. It did carry on just a little bit further. Now the coal mine, the Robinette's mine, and a couple of others were scattered around just here, and the brickworks too. There's probably a few hidden shafts knocking around in those woods over there. And that is the woodlands. It includes all of the feeders that came down to service the Robinette's arm and onto the Nottingham Canal. Don't think I can get down to that bit, but I'm sure there's a footpath that will take us down to that woodland. So that is Brickyard Plantation. You can just see Swinglet Water Tower in the background. I just featured that in the previous video. Now then, where the plantation is, the Brickyard Plantation, you can see that line of trees and bushes going along to the right, look, in front of the woodland. That is our tram road that we're tracing today, the Strelley Tramroad. We do get to follow it a little way further on beyond the M1 motorway. I'm hoping to actually get near it, this side of the M1 motorway as well. The Strelley Tramroad would have dated from the 1600s and possibly lasting until the 1800s. It wasn't a passenger railway, but it was a mineral tramway built for transporting coal and other goods, and was horse-drawn with wagons as depicted in these example photographs, running on iron or wooden rails, and would have been a precursor to steam railways in commercial transport. Got ourselves on another footpath away from the other footpath, taking us down to where the tram road crossed over. So we've got the Brickyard woodland over there and the Robinette's arm coming across here. We've got the woodland in the background and the M1 motorway is over there. Somewhere around about there is where it passed, where the M1 wasn't at the time. Look at this fantastic old map from the early 1800s. Oldmore Wood right in the middle, Robinette's arm on the left, and the corner and the curve of the Nottingham Canal. Notice down here it says Tramroad. You can follow that all the way across to the tip of the Robinette's arm just below Strelley. Now let's see at the overlay what we're looking at today. So you still got Oldmore Wood in the middle. You can just about make out the trace of the tramroad going below the wood, can't you? And the M1 has just come into shot as the tramway meanders its way through the fields and the countryside below Strelley off towards the coal wharf. Okay, so looking at maps, our track bed would have been round about here. You can see there's a line of trees there, but that isn't where it was. That is actually a feeder stream coming around the woodland to feed the Robinette arms. Now then, got the M1 over there. The original footpath I was following is that line of trees there, and we will pass the M1 around about there. Scoot off left a little bit. That is the trajectory of our tramway. So where our tram road came across here, I was just stood the other side of that hedgerow, the M1 over there. You can see the feeder brook just here, look. You hear it as well, can't you? And it's popping out just there. Unfortunately, this is not a footpath and we can get no further in this direction. But as you have seen from maps, the woodland has been there an extremely long time, and it actually predates the actual coal workings that were around here. Back on the main footpath, and our next stop will be bypassing the M1 motorway. I am about to pass below the M1 just here, still on public footpaths by the way. I'll slowly turn you around. Our tram road was probably the length of 6 or 7 double-decker buses down there, 7 or 8 lorries length. It cut across. Of course, the M1 wasn't here at that point, was it? Popped out the other side anyway. But once below the M1, the old track bed would have carried on just over there. There's a straight section that runs parallel with the motorway, and once it kicks to the right, that would be the route of our former track bed. Oldmore Wood on the upper left, and again, look where it says Tram Road and Coal Pit. Now, just below the word coal, you can see that tight curve near the T from Tram Road. If we tip over to the current Google imagery, you can see where that curve is on that green footpath that I'm on now. That's the exact location where we will pick up and be able to walk the tram road off towards Strelley, bypassing Catstone Reservoir on my right hand side. And here is that kink to the right that I mentioned. So that is the route and trajectory of our wagonway, our tram road. And it came across the other side of where this hedge is today, straight over in that direction, just past where that white lorry went past, towards the Robinette's arms where we began. Still on the route of our tram road, although it's very boggy in places. Catstone Hill Reservoir up there, that's been around since the 19th century. Strelley Hall is down that side, and Main Street leading up to Strelley Hall is our next destination. You wouldn't have thought that this area was so important to getting coal through the countryside, would you, to other parts of the country. Still on the route of the Strelley Tramroad, doesn't really go much further. It has to cut across Strelley Lane and go through some fields behind Main Street. I'll show you where that is when we get there. And this is the last we'll see of our Strelley Tramroad, our wagon way. So we've just come from there, and it sets off for around about just less than a quarter of a mile straight through there. And just down there is where Bilborough Road is today. And there was a wharf, and it was this wharf where the Woolerton Wagonway or Tram Road began its journey off towards where Woolerton Park is today. I'm going to pick up on that in a future video. So as our tram road has bypassed Strelley, we've got Strelley Hall up here. It's crossed the fields and the land leading up to the former coal wharf, and that would be located right down here. And it's also the location of where the Woolerton Tram Road went off towards Woolerton Park, going through the land which is now occupied by Bilborough and is completely covered and built over. If we go to the old map from the early 1800s, you can see the lay of the land of the tram road again. Look, it's gone past Catstone Hill where the reservoir would be, and through to Strelley Coal Wharf, and again the route of the tramway heading off towards Woolerton, which is believed to be the oldest form of rail transport in the world by many. I'll cover that in a future video. So the wharf that interconnected both of the tram roads was round about there behind that building. The commencement of the Woolerton Gang Road or the Woolerton Tram Road. That is said to be the oldest railway in the world. The precursor to all railways, the DNA began there. Apparently, we'll follow that up in another video. From here, we've had a brilliant look at an overlooked section of the Nottingham Canal, the Robinette's arm, and also trace the route of the Strelley Tramroad. If you like this, please like, subscribe, please comment below. More suggestions. I'd still love to do more stuff around Nottingham, so that's where I'm based. Thank you very much for watching. See you again. Bye bye.